Hey everyone, so I thought I'd do a quick video many years on after the infamous monorail crash. I was a monorail pilot for a long time and I wasn't working monorail at that point, but I was working that night when it happened, and I'll put up the date here when it happened. It was actually on July 4th into a 5th, and I thought I'd show you a little bit here to explain how it happened. It's do a little retrospect in commemoration for the cast member who passed and just a terrible situation that. So basically, briefly, as you can see right here, we're on the Epcot beam. There are 3 beams here at the monorail station. So you have the Epcot beam here where we're standing, and then you have the Express beam, which is where Monorail Black is leaving from right now, and then you have Monorail Silver on the resort beam making up the 3rd beam. So on that particular night, right outside over here, we have a switch track, which goes basically, hello,
Hi there.
how you doing tonight?
Sleepy.
Yeah, we see you. How you doing?
Trying my best.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
Cast members here are fantastic. So basically, there's a switch track. You guys really can't see it from here, but right past down here, there's what they call a switch. There's one here, there's one at the Magic Kingdom. So what it enables the monorails to do is, okay, it enables them to switch beams. So at the end of the night, the way it works is that, the way it works is 9 monorails can fit inside the roundhouse and 3 stay out. So what happened that particular night was they had Monorail Purple stationed right here where Monorail Gold is, and they sent Monorail Pink out to the switch. Now when they told the cast member to back it up, he thought he was backing up onto this beam, when in reality he was backing up on the main beam. So essentially, if you look at how this is set up, each cast member, I'll see if I can zoom in on it right here, but each cast member has a kill switch, and they could kill the power in the station. So also that particular night, the coordinator, who normally sits right there in that control tower, you can probably see, here's the switch right here. It's a little dark, I know, but that's actually the switch right there. So in that particular night, let me go back over here. So in that particular night, unfortunately, when the shop thought that the switch was down, enabling Monorail Pink to back up, unfortunately the cast member driving Pink didn't look in his mirrors. It was a late night, everyone was working late. The guy in the shop said the switch was down, meaning that he would have just, normally in that situation, you would just back up the monorail and it would basically go onto the Epcot beam or wherever beam they wanted it to go on. I'm on Monorail Coral right now, by the way. We're going from Epcot to, rather Magic Kingdom to Epcot. So, I'll turn this. So, essentially what happened was that particular night, the coordinator didn't feel good. So the coordinator actually went home early. So he wasn't in the tower. So the manager, which wasn't really as odd as you would think, was directing the monorails from actually a Perkins off property. But to work here, they pretty much do it the same way every single night. So that doesn't sound really as bad as you would think it would sound. So when Purple backed up, or rather when Pink backed up, it actually hit into Purple and causing the death of a young cast member. So the result of that was a lawsuit, which the cast member's mom, I believe, she definitely did win out of court. There was an out-of-court settlement. So, and what happened with that was OSHA, at the end of the day, they basically put the blame on the guy working in the shop, but OSHA looked into the hazard, because if you've worked monorail, you know, or if you didn't work monorail, every time you make a communication, you speak into a black box and it's recorded. So you have to repeat everything twice. So essentially when you learn monorail, that's the hardest thing to learn. In my class, we had a guy who was actually had a pilot's license, and believe it or not, he couldn't pass the test, not because he couldn't drive the monorail, but because he couldn't repeat back up the 3 or 4 commands, which is what they want you to do. So at the end of the day, when the court case went into court, they pulled up the old documents as to how to drive the monorail, and Bombardier, which is the company that builds the Disney World monorail, Bombardier had actually written a statement and saying that when Disney backs up the monorails, they should always have a spotter, someone in the back of the monorail. And Disney, cost effective, they decided that they never needed that. And up until then, monorail is probably the safest mode of transportation, and it technically probably still is. A lot more people get hurt on the carousel than on the monorail for sure. But let me put you out this window. So at the end of the day, the mom woman won in court because they proved that Disney wasn't following the book on that. So OSHA fined Disney $5,000, which you would say, well, $5,000 for Disney is not that much money. What it really proved was that they were wrong. So it could have been a penny. The fact that OSHA found them to be wrong was what really triggered the loss of the lawsuit in favor of the mom. So I just thought it would be kind of cool because I drove monorail for quite some time. I drove for at least a couple of years, and then I went into Dream Squad, and I was driving it a little bit then for people who we basically made dreams come true, and a lot of folks wanted to drive the monorail. So I think, like I said, in retrospect, it was kind of like a night when everything went wrong. Any one of those situations could have prevented it. If the coordinator was in the tower, he would have seen what was going on. He could have killed the power. If the cast members who were working the station would have seen it, they could have killed the power in the station. The guy who's actually in Monorail Purple, the cast member who passed away, he was actually texting, so he wasn't paying attention. If he hadn't been looking, maybe he could have jumped out. Had the guy driving Monorail Pink in reverse looked in his mirrors, he would have realized he was on the wrong beam. And of course, the guy in the shop saying that the switch was down when it really wasn't. It was just the perfect storm for all these bad things to happen. Plus, the busiest day of the year, at least the first or second, either it's July 4th or New Year's. Anyway, I just thought I'd fill you guys in all these years later, just to give you a monorail pilot's perspective on what happened, and maybe give you an honest assessment as to sometimes in life there's no way of preventing something. I mean, we had a tragedy in our own life with my son, and it was kind of a similar situation and kind of like the perfect storm happening. So we've experienced that ourselves in our life, and we miss him every single day, and weird, strange things happen in life. So I guess the moral of the story here is essentially hug your loved ones, love them, tell them you love them all the time, because you never really know what's going to happen from day to day. We're on a feather. I'd like to think that there's a plan. I really do think there's an afterlife, but honestly in life, if you step left or you step right, it could change your entire life. So I love you guys. Stay tuned for hopefully more videos in the future. I thought it was appropriate to kind of do this because I wouldn't call that an anniversary of what's coming up, the date, but I would just say that as a parent, I understand what it is to lose. I think he had a sister. So anyway, so folks, have a great night. We'll talk to you again, and here's some views of Epcot. All right, folks, you have a good night. Take care of yourself. Subscribe. Love you guys. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care now. Bye-bye.